Now, in this Illustrator exam, there are quite a few task-based questions centered around this idea of either combining, moving, renaming, locking layers. So I kind of want to just demo this so you can have a few examples of the style of questions that you're going to run into. First things first, anytime you see the word layer in a question, make sure your layers panel is open. If your layers panel is not visible, you know that every panel in the entire Illustrator program is underneath Window menu. You can find anything you need. Now, you might get a question that says, move all objects from one layer to another. So let's say I needed to move all objects from my character layer. I can hit this little circle, it's a target, and I can move objects from one layer to another by dragging the little square you see here and literally pulling it into another layer and releasing my mouse. And I know I've moved it because the square should change colors because this layer is labeled with light blue and this is magenta. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing you're gonna see is things like combine all the layers or collect all the layers, which is the same exact steps, they just use different terminology. For example, if I needed to combine all of these layers into one layer, I would click on the top layer. On your computers, it's gonna be Control, and you're just gonna keep clicking on the layers until they all turn this like blue color. That's how you know you have them activated. And you're gonna need your layer options. Every panel has an options button all the way on the top right corner. It looks like 3 lines. When you click on this, you should have options for merge selected. That means everything is selected will be merged into one layer. When I do that, it should push it into one layer, and then usually this question asks you to rename it. So to rename something, you can simply double click on the letters of the layer, and whatever this is supposed to be sure you use the proper, if it's a lowercase or uppercase, match the question here. The last thing I see happen quite often is a question that says to change the contrast between the layers, which literally means, right, if you click on some layers, you see how the color of the bounding box, that's just the box around the shape, changes? That is dependent on what layer it's in. It's just like a labeling method. So let's say I think device and plants are too close. They're both like this blue color. And I want to change it so my plant stands out when I select it. I can double click, but we're not going to double click on the word. We're going to double click a little further here on the right. And then you have a whole bunch of drop down options to choose a color that has more contrast or is different. Contrast just means the difference between two things. Depending what the test tells you, please make sure you match it. If it says gold, do gold. I know this looks like orange, but the test calls it gold, okay? And that's really what you need to know for the layers panel. Just remember, if you're struggling, select the layer. There's quite a few options in that drop down, but we'll help you out. And don't be afraid to open up layers and look for the information the test question's asking.